The vast emptiness of space stretched out before Commander Alara Bright as she stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel Stellar Horizon. Stars twinkled like distant diamonds against the black canvas. Alara brushed a strand of blonde hair from her face and sighed. This mission was supposed to be routine. Survey abandoned human outposts, catalog any useful resources, and move on. Humans had been extinct for 500 years after all. Nothing but ghosts remained of their civilization. Commander, we're approaching the old Earth colony on Proxima B, said Navigator Kelly Bennett, her fingers dancing across the holographic controls. Scans show minimal activity as expected. Take us into orbit, Alara replied. Prepare a ground team. Standard protocol. The Stellar Horizon slipped into orbit around the small, rocky planet. Once, this had been one of humanity's most promising colonies. Now it was just another dead world, a footnote in galactic history books. The great solar flare had rendered Earth uninhabitable, and the scattered human colonies had soon followed their homeworld into extinction. At least, that was what everyone believed. Dr. Alan Wright approached Alara, his tall frame casting a shadow across the command deck. Commander, I've been reviewing the preliminary scans. There's something unusual about the northern continent. Unusual how? Alara asked, turning to face her science officer. An energy signature. Very faint, but definitely artificial, and he hesitated. It matches old human technology patterns. Alara frowned. That's impossible. Nothing should be functioning after 5 centuries. That's what makes it interesting, Alan replied with a small smile. I recommend we investigate personally. 2 hours later, Alara led a small team through the ruins of what had once been a thriving human settlement. Buildings made of a strange material called concrete crumbled around them, reclaimed by native vegetation. Their environmental suits protected them from the slightly toxic atmosphere, breathable to humans once but no longer ideal after ecological collapse. The signal is coming from underground, Security Chief Linda Mason said, checking her scanner. Looks like there's a hidden facility beneath that structure. She pointed to what might have been a government building, its grand columns now broken and covered in blue-green vines. They found the entrance hidden beneath layers of debris, a massive metal door, sealed tight against time itself. The door's power system is dead, Engineer Gary Phillips noted, examining the control panel. But it looks like there's an emergency override. He pulled a lever concealed behind the panel, and with a groan of protest, the door slowly swung open. Backup power systems, Alan whispered, impressed. Human engineering was remarkable. They descended into darkness, their suit lights cutting bright paths through the stale air. The facility appeared to be some kind of research station. Most equipment had long since failed, but occasionally they passed a blinking light or humming machine, somehow still functioning after all these years. Commander, you need to see this, Linda called from a room ahead. Alara entered what appeared to be the main laboratory and froze. In the center stood a cylindrical chamber glowing with a soft blue light. Inside, floating in a clear fluid, was a human male. Is he preserved? Alara asked, approaching the chamber cautiously. Alan ran his scanner over the pod. No, he said, his voice filled with disbelief. He's alive, in some form of suspended animation. His vital signs are minimal but stable. Alara stared at the floating figure. His eyes were closed, dark hair drifting around his face. According to her education, humans had been relatively similar to her own species, though their biosignatures were unique. This specimen appeared to be in his early 30s, by human standards. This changes everything, she whispered. We should report this to Confederation Command immediately, Linda suggested, her hand hovering near her weapon out of habit. No, Alara said firmly. Not yet. We need to understand what we've found first. After careful deliberation, they decided to bring the stasis pod aboard the Stellar Horizon. It took 6 hours to safely disconnect it from the facility's systems and transport it to the ship's medical bay. The pod is designed to be portable, Alan explained as they secured it. It has its own power source, some kind of advanced fusion cell, incredible technology for its time. Once aboard, Ilara gathered her senior officers in the conference room. The mood was tense. "We need to discuss what we've found," she began, "and what we're going to do about it." "The Confederation protocols are clear," Executive Officer George Newman argued. "Any discovery related to extinct species must be reported immediately." "This isn't just any discovery," Ilara countered. "This is a living human. The last one, as far as we know." "Or the first one," Alan said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. What if there are others? What if everything we know about human extinction is wrong? Before anyone could respond, Ilara's private communicator chimed. She frowned. Only Admiral Peter Gordon had that direct channel. She excused herself and stepped into the corridor to answer. The Admiral's face appeared on the small screen, his expression grave. "Bright, secure that pod and bring it directly to Arcturus Station. Tell no one what you found. Your discovery isn't the first, and there are forces that would kill to keep humanity buried in history." The transmission cut out abruptly, leaving Ilara staring at a blank screen. What did he mean, not the first? And who would want to keep humanity's survival secret? Her thoughts were interrupted by the ship's alarm. She rushed back to the bridge, where George was already issuing orders. 3 unidentified vessels just dropped out of hyperspace, he reported. "They're on an intercept course." "Hail them," Ilara commanded, sliding into her captain's chair. No response. Communications Officer Susan Reed reported. "But they're charging weapons." "Shields up," Ilara ordered. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers. On." The main screen, 3 sleek black ships approached, their design unlike any Confederation vessel. "Who are they?" Kelly asked, her voice tight with tension. "I don't know," Ilara replied, "but I think they're here for our guest." In the medical bay, Dr. Alan Wright noticed something change in the stasis pod's readings. The human's brain activity had suddenly increased. His eyelids flickered. He was waking up. As the unknown ships closed in and the stellar horizon prepared for combat, Ilara made a decision. Whatever secrets this human held, whatever truths had been hidden about humanity's fate, she would discover them. And if necessary, she would protect this last human with her life, because something told her that the galaxy's history and its future might depend on it. The stellar horizon shuddered as enemy fire struck its shields. Commander Ilara Bright gripped her command chair and shouted orders. "Evasive pattern Delta. Kelly, set course for the Vega Nebula debris field." Navigator Kelly Bennett nodded, her fingers flying across the controls. "Course set, Commander. The radiation in the nebula should mask our signature." "Engage full thrust," Ilara commanded. The ship lurched forward, accelerating away from the 3 black vessels pursuing them. The stars on the view screen blurred into streaks of light as they jumped to sublight speed. Meanwhile, in the medical bay, Dr. Alan Wright watched in amazement as the human in the stasis pod showed signs of waking. The life support readings climbed steadily. The man's fingers twitched, his eyelids fluttered. "Remarkable," Alan whispered. After 5 centuries of suspended animation, another blast rocked the ship, throwing Alan against a wall. He steadied himself and checked the pod, still secure. As the ship made its desperate escape, Alan decided to begin the revival process. If they were being hunted because of this human, they at least deserved to know why. He activated the pod's awakening sequence. The blue fluid began to drain. The human's body was lowered gently onto the pad at the bottom of the chamber. His chest rose and fell more strongly now. Taking in the specialized gas mixture the pod was pumping in to help his lungs adjust. In the corridor outside, Security Chief Linda Mason positioned 2 guards. "No one enters without the commanders." "Approval," she ordered, then entered the medical bay. "Doctor, how is our guest?" "Coming around," Alan replied. "The pod systems say his name is John Miller. His vital signs are strong, surprisingly so for someone who's been asleep for 500 years. The ship lurched again, then smoothed out as they entered the nebula. The pursuing ships fell back, unwilling to risk the dangerous radiation and debris. On the bridge, Ilara allowed herself a small sigh of relief. Status report. "Shields at 60%, reported Engineer Gary Phillips. We took some damage to the port stabilizers, but nothing critical. Communications are being scrambled by the nebula, added Susan. That works both ways. They can't track us precisely, but we can't call for help either. Ilara nodded. Keep us deep in the debris field. I want to know who those ships belong to. Run their configuration through our database. Already did, George said grimly. No match in Confederation records. They're using some kind of stealth technology I've never seen before. Ilara rose from her chair. I'll be in medical. George, you have the bridge. In the medical bay, John Miller opened his eyes for the first time in 5 centuries. He blinked, disoriented by the bright lights and strange faces surrounding him. His throat was dry, his muscles weak. But he was alive. Alan offered him water, through a straw. Take it slow, he advised. John swallowed, then tried to speak. His voice came out as a rasp. Where am I? The translation devices worn by the medical team took a moment to process his archaic dialect of English. When they did, Alan answered, You're aboard the Confederation exploration vessel Stellar Horizon. I'm Dr. Alan Wright. We found you in suspended animation on Proxima B. John struggled to sit up. Linda stepped forward, ready to restrain him if necessary, but he was too weak to move much. How long? John asked, looking at their unfamiliar uniforms and the advanced technology surrounding him. Alan and Linda exchanged glances. Ilara entered at that moment and nodded for Alan to continue. Mr. Miller, you've been in suspended animation for approximately 523 years. John stared at them, then closed his eyes. Not in shock, Ilara realized, but as if he was calculating something. The others? He finally asked. The other pods? There were no others, Linda said. Just you. John's eyes snapped open. That's not possible. There were 500 of us at Outpost Omega. The Exodus protocol would have saved millions. We had contingency colonies, seed vaults, deep space arcs. His voice trailed off as he saw the uncertainty on their faces. Ilara stepped forward. Mr. Miller, according to our historical records, humans went extinct over 500 years ago after a solar flare rendered Earth uninhabitable. The colonies fell soon after due to resource depletion and environmental failures. John tried to sit up again, more forcefully this time. No, that's not what happened. We were attacked. It wasn't a natural disaster. It was deliberate. The solar flare was artificial. The medical team looked at each other in confusion. Alan helped John sit up and adjusted the bed to support him. Who attacked you? Ilara asked. John's eyes narrowed. You don't know? What species are you? I'm Aldebaran, Ilara replied. Dr. Wright is Centaurian. We're part of the Galactic Confederation, formed after the human extinction. John looked at each of them, studying their features. You look similar to us. Close enough that we might have been related, evolutionarily speaking. We are, Alan confirmed. Most intelligent species in this sector evolved along similar paths. But humans had certain unique qualities. Like what? John asked. Before Alan could answer, the ship rocked violently. Alarms blared. Ilara's communicator chimed. Commander. George's voice was tight with urgency. They've found us. 3 more ships just entered the nebula. Different design but similar energy signatures. They're using some kind of advanced scanning technology that cuts through the radiation. Ilara turned to John. Who are they? Why are they hunting us? John's face had gone pale. The energy signature. Is it oscillating between delta and gamma bands? Ilara relayed the question to George, who checked and confirmed. Shrike mercenaries, John said grimly. They were extinction specialists even in my time. Someone very powerful and very determined wants to make sure I don't talk to you. Linda's hand moved to her weapon. Can we trust him, Commander? Ilara studied John's face. Despite 5 centuries of separation, she could read the human expressions well enough. Fear, determination, and a deep, burning anger. I think we have, too, she decided. Mr. Miller, we need answers. But first we need to survive. Can you tell us how to evade these shrikes? John nodded slowly. Help me up. Get me to your bridge. Their scanning technology has a weakness. It can't penetrate certain rare elements. If you have any deuterium-stabilized platinum in your shielding arrays, we can modify it to create a blind spot. We do, Alara confirmed, surprised. For the first time, John smiled slightly. Some things haven't changed then. Humans discovered that trick. Looks like some of our technology survived, even if your history books say we didn't. As they helped John to his feet, his legs trembling with the effort of standing after centuries of disuse, he looked Alara in the eye. Commander, if I'm truly the last human, then I'm also the last witness to what really happened. And someone is still trying to keep that truth buried. The ship shuddered again as they made their way toward the bridge, the hunters closing in, on all sides, and a mystery 5 centuries old waiting to be uncovered. John Miller stood on the bridge of the stellar horizon, his legs still weak but his mind sharp. He studied the display showing the 6 enemy ships closing in on their position within the nebula. The crew watched him with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. Your shields need to be reconfigured, John said, pointing to the engineering station. The frequency needs to shift constantly to create a scattered pattern. Engineer Gary Phillips looked to Commander Alara for approval. She nodded. Do as he says. Gary worked quickly, following John's instructions. This is going to reduce our overall shield strength by 30%, he warned. Better weak shields they can't detect than strong ones they can blast through, John replied. On the main screen, the enemy ships suddenly slowed their approach, their scanning beams sweeping back and forth but passing over the stellar horizon. It's working, Navigator Kelly whispered. They've lost us. John leaned against a console, still unsteady. Not for long. We need to create a diversion and make a jump out of this nebula. Alara studied the human carefully. 500 years of history said his kind were extinct. Yet here he stood, offering tactics that were working against advanced ships even the Confederation couldn't identify. Executive Officer George, prepare a diversion, she ordered. 2 probe launches, opposite. Directions, full energy signatures. Yes, Commander. As George carried out the orders, Dr. Allen approached John with a small device. This should help your muscle recovery, he explained, pressing it against John's arm. A temporary stimulant to counter the effects of long-term stasis. John nodded, gratefully as warmth spread through his limbs. Thanks, Doc. The probes are ready, George announced. Launch and prepare for maximum thrust on my mark, Alara commanded. Kelly, plot a course to. She hesitated, looking at John. Arcturus Station, John said firmly. Your Admiral Gordon contacted you for a reason. He knows something. Alara's eyes widened slightly. How did you know about that transmission? I didn't, John replied with a small smile. But you just confirmed. In my time, Arcturus was a military research facility. Sounds like some things stay the same. The probes launched, speeding away from the stellar horizon in opposite directions. The enemy ships immediately split up to pursue them. Now! Alara shouted. The ship surged forward, breaking free of the nebula's edge and jumping to light speed, before the Shrike vessels could react. For the moment, they had escaped. In the ship's mess hall, John sat with Alara, Allen, and Security Chief Linda. He had managed to eat a small meal, though the synthetic food was strange to his palate. Time for answers, Alara said. Start with who you are and why those ships are after you. John set down his spoon. My name is John Miller. I was a security specialist for Project Lazarus, humanity's last resort survival plan. When the attacks began, our colonies were hit simultaneously across 12 star systems. Attacks by whom? Linda asked. We called them the Coalition of 6, John replied. 6 advanced species who saw humanity as a threat. Not because of what we were, but because of what we might become. Allen leaned forward. Can you explain? John nodded. Human development was different. Other species advanced at a steady, predictable rate. Humans made intuitive leaps. Our technology sometimes jumped generations in a single breakthrough. The Coalition's scientists predicted that within 200 years, humans would surpass them all. So they decided to wipe you out? Alara asked, horrified. Preemptive extinction, John confirmed grimly. The solar flare that hit Earth wasn't natural. They used a gravitational lens to focus the energy of 3 neutron stars onto our sun, causing a massive flare that stripped away Earth's atmosphere. Linda looked skeptical. That level of technology is beyond even what we have now. Exactly, John said. That technology came from the Forerunners, an ancient species whose artifacts we had discovered. The Coalition wanted that technology for themselves, not in human hands. The group fell silent, absorbing this information. Finally, Alara spoke. The Confederation Council includes 12 founding species. 6 of them formed the original alliance about 500 years ago. John's eyes narrowed. Let me guess. The Draconians, Vrel, Quas, Meridians, Ectra, and Solari? Alara stared at him. Yes. How did you know? Because those were the 6 who attacked us, John said quietly. They rewrote history after they thought they'd killed us all. A tense silence fell over the table. Linda's hand moved closer to her weapon. That's a serious accusation, she said. You're claiming the leadership of the Confederation is built on genocide. I'm not claiming it, John replied. I lived through it. And I suspect your Admiral Gordon has found evidence or he wouldn't have warned you. The ship's AI voice interrupted. Commander Bright, we are approaching the outer boundary of the Arcturus system. Alara stood. We'll continue this discussion later. Linda, prepare a security team to escort us to the station. As they made their way back to the bridge, Alan walked beside John. If what you say is true, why would Admiral Gordon risk helping you? He's Meridian, one of the species you named. John considered this. Not all individuals agree with the actions of their governments. In my time, we had human allies among all those species, people who opposed the genocide. On the bridge, the view screen showed the Arcturus system ahead, but something was wrong. The station orbiting the 4th planet was surrounded by ships, Confederation military vessels. Incoming transmission, Susan announced. It's from the peacekeeping vessel Vigilant. On screen, Alara ordered. A face appeared, a male with the distinctive silver-flecked skin of a Draconian. This is Captain Roy Phillips of the Confederation Peacekeeping Force. Stellar Horizon, you are ordered to power down and prepare to be boarded. You have recovered dangerous contraband from Proxima B. Alara glanced at John, who shook his head slightly. Captain Phillips, we're on a sanctioned exploration mission, Alara replied. We're scheduled to dock at Arcturus Station on Admiral Gordon's authority. Phillips's expression hardened. Admiral Gordon has been relieved of duty pending an investigation into security breaches. I repeat, power down your vessel immediately. As Phillips spoke, John moved closer to Alara and whispered, Look at his eyes. The pupil pattern is wrong for a Draconian. He's being controlled. Linda, who had returned to the bridge, overheard this exchange. Commander, something's not right here. Where's the standard Confederation security authentication? Alara noticed it too. The captain had not followed proper protocol for a military interception. Stellar Horizon out, she said. Cutting the transmission, she turned to her crew. Battle stations, this is not a legitimate Confederation action. As alarm sounded and the crew rushed to their posts, John moved to Alara's side. There's another way, he said urgently. I know somewhere we might find answers. And allies. A place the Coalition never found. Where? Alara asked as the enemy ships began to move toward them. It was called Sanctuary 7, John replied. A hidden colony built inside a rogue planet. No star, no fixed orbit. The perfect hiding place. Alara looked at the approaching ships, then back at John. In his eyes, she saw something she recognized despite the centuries between their species. Determination. Kelly, she called to her navigator. Prepare to receive new coordinates. As John worked with Kelly to calculate the location of Sanctuary 7, the first shots from Captain Phillips' ship streaked past the stellar horizon. The hunt had only just begun. The stellar horizon shook violently as another blast from the pursuing ship struck its shields. Alara gripped her command chair. watching as her crew worked frantically to evade the attack. "Shields down to 30%, Engineer Gary reported, his voice strained. "Kelly, status on those coordinates?" Alara called out. Navigator Kelly Bennett nodded, her fingers dancing across her console while John Miller leaned over her shoulder, guiding her calculations. "Almost there, Commander. The challenge is that Sanctuary 7 isn't in a fixed orbit. It's a rogue planet drifting through interstellar space. We need to buy more time," Security Chief Linda said, checking the weapons systems. Executive Officer George looked up from his station. "Commander, I have an idea. The nebula we just left has a cluster of unstable protostars. If we can lure the enemy ships close enough and then trigger a reaction—" "Do it," Alara ordered. "Susan, prepare a false transmission indicating system. Failure. Make it look like we're limping back to the nebula for cover." Communications Officer Susan Reed nodded and began crafting the fake distress signal. Within minutes, the lead enemy ships changed course, following the stellar horizon's apparent retreat. John watched the tactical display with growing admiration. "Your crew works well together," he said quietly to Alara. "The best in the fleet," she replied. "But we can't keep this up much longer." In the medical bay, Dr. Alan Wright was treating a crew member injured during the last attack when Linda entered with a grim expression. "Doctor, we need to talk," she said, keeping her voice low. "I've been analyzing the human story. Some things don't add up." Alan raised an eyebrow. "Such as? If his people were so advanced, why is there no trace of their technology? And how convenient that the 6 species he accuses happen to be the founding members of the Confederation." Alan considered her words. "What are you suggesting? That we might be helping someone dangerous?" Linda replied. "Or being manipulated?" Back on the bridge, Kelly gave a triumphant shout. "I've got it. Coordinates for Sanctuary 7 locked in." John smiled, looking more energized than he had since waking. "That's it. Now we need to make our jump when the enemy ships are distracted by the protostars." George monitored the tactical display. "Enemy vessels approaching the target zone. Ready on your command, Commander." Alara watched the enemy ships follow their false trail into the cluster of unstable stars. "Now, George." George fired 2 photon torpedoes into the densest part of the star cluster. The resulting chain reaction was immediate and spectacular. Energy surged through the nebula, temporarily blinding the sensors of the pursuing ships. "Jump now," Alara ordered. Kelly activated the faster-than-light drive. The stars on the view screen stretched into lines as the stellar horizon leapt away from the chaos, following the coordinates to the hidden planet that might hold the answers they sought. Hours later, the ship emerged from FTL travel in what appeared to be empty space. There were no stars nearby, no planets, nothing but the cold vacuum. "Are you sure these coordinates are correct?" Alara asked, staring at the emptiness on the view screen. John nodded. "Sanctuary 7 doesn't reflect light like normal planets. It was designed that way. Scan for gravitational anomalies instead." Gary adjusted the sensors as instructed. After a tense minute, he reported, "There's something out there, about the size of a small moon but absorbing all light that hits it." "That's it," John confirmed. "The surface is covered with a material we called void steel. It absorbs rather than reflects electromagnetic radiation." The stellar horizon approached cautiously. As they drew closer, they could finally see it, a dark sphere against the backdrop of distant stars visible only by the absence of light where it should be. "How do we get in?" Alara asked. "The entry port responds to a specific frequency," John explained. "If the systems are still operational after all this time." He worked with Susan to transmit the signal. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, a section of the planet's surface began to shift, revealing a hangar large enough for their ship. "Take us in slowly," Alara ordered Kelly. The stellar horizon glided into the massive hangar. As the outer doors sealed behind them, emergency lights activated along the walls and floor, bathing everything in a soft blue glow. "Life support systems are activating," Gary reported, surprised. "The air is being pressurized. It's becoming breathable." The automation still works, John said, his voice filled with emotion. After 5 centuries, Alara organized a team to explore the facility. Herself, John, Alan, Linda, and Kelly. They exited the ship into the vast hangar which contained several smaller vessels of unfamiliar design. Human ships, John explained, seeing their curious looks. Short-range shuttles mostly. They followed John through corridors that lit up as they approached. The facility appeared remarkably well preserved, as if sealed in time. The central chamber should be this way, John said, leading them to a massive door with a control panel. He placed his hand on the panel, and to everyone's surprise, it illuminated and began scanning. Genetic verification confirmed. Welcome. Back Security Specialist Miller, a calm artificial voice announced. The door slid open smoothly. Beyond lay a vast circular room filled with rows upon rows of stasis pods similar to the one John had been found in. Each pod contained a sleeping human. There are thousands of them, Alan whispered, awestruck. 4,726, the facility's AI corrected. All vital signs stable. John walked among the pods, looking at the faces of his sleeping companions. The best minds of our civilization, scientists, engineers, artists, teachers, everyone needed to rebuild. Why weren't they awakened automatically? Linda asked, still suspicious. The facility was designed to wait until conditions were safe, John explained. It would only initiate revival protocols when the threat had passed. Clearly it determined that danger still existed. Alara approached one of the control stations. Can they be awakened now? Yes, John said, but we should be strategic. Start with the leadership and defense specialists. We'll need them when the Shrikes track us here. And they will, Linda said grimly. It's only a matter of time. As they discussed how to proceed, Alan made a discovery in one of the facility's databanks. John, look at this, he called out, pointing to a display showing a galactic map with several points highlighted. John studied it. These are other sanctuary locations, he said, his voice rising with excitement. 7 of them scattered across the galaxy. If they all succeeded, then humans aren't extinct at all, Alara finished. They've been hiding, waiting. The implications were staggering. Not just one human, but potentially thousands or even millions had survived the attempted genocide. As they began the careful process of reviving the first group of humans, the facility's sensors detected something in distant space. Multiple ships were dropping out of FTL, converging on their location. They found us, Linda said, checking her weapon. John's expression hardened as he looked at the awakening humans. This time, we'll be ready for them. The last human was not the last after all. And the truth that had been buried for centuries was about to reshape the galaxy forever. Alarms blared throughout Sanctuary 7 as enemy ships closed in. John Miller worked alongside the first 10 humans who had been awakened, their movements still stiff from centuries of suspended animation. Among them was Director Patricia Harris, a tall woman with steel-gray hair and unwavering authority in her voice. Activate the defense grid, Patricia ordered. Security Protocol Omega. Yes, Director, replied the facility's AI. The lights dimmed momentarily as power redirected to previously hidden weapon systems. Commander Alara Bright watched in amazement as sections of the planet's surface shifted, revealing advanced weapon emplacements unlike anything in the Confederation arsenal. Your weapons technology, she said. It's beyond our current level. Patricia nodded. Humanity was always good at defending itself. It's why they wanted us gone. On the command center's main screen, they watched as the approaching ships, 3 Shrike vessels and 4 Confederation peacekeepers, moved into attack formation. They're hailing us, Communications Officer Susan Reed reported from the Stellar Horizons link to the facility. Put it through, Patricia said. Captain Roy Phillips appeared on screen, his expression cold. Attention unknown facility. You are harboring fugitives and biological contraband. Surrender immediately or face destruction. Patricia stepped forward. This is Director Patricia Harris of Earth Alliance Sanctuary 7. We do not recognize your authority. These are sovereign human territories protected under pre-Confederation treaties that your government has chosen to ignore. Phillips's expression flickered with surprise before hardening again. Humans are extinct. Whatever you are, your deception ends now. The transmission cut off. Moments later, the enemy ships opened fire. Energy beams struck the planet's surface but were absorbed by the void steel coating. Return fire, Patricia ordered. Disable only. We're not murderers even if they are. The hidden weapon emplacements powered up and fired precise beams that sliced through the shields of the enemy ships like they weren't there. 2 vessels immediately lost power, drifting helplessly. In the medical section, Dr. Alan Wright worked with 2 awakened human doctors to revive more of the sleepers. Security Chief Linda Mason stood guard, her weapon ready, but her expression troubled. You still don't trust us, noted Dr. Eric Barnes, a human physician with dark skin and gentle hands. Linda watched him carefully. Trust has to be earned. Your weapons just cut through Confederation shields like they were paper. That makes you dangerous. Eric smiled sadly. Being dangerous kept us alive long enough to be put into these pods, but we never wanted a war. We just wanted to live. Back in the command center, the battle was turning in their favor. The remaining enemy ships retreated to a safe distance, regrouping. They'll be back with reinforcements, John said grimly. Patricia nodded. By then, we need to have awakened everyone and contacted the other sanctuaries. She turned to Alara. Commander, we need your help. The Confederation must learn the truth about what happened to humanity. The truth is already spreading, came a voice from the doorway. Admiral Peter Gordon entered, supported by Executive Officer George. The Admiral looked battered, with a bandage over one eye. Admiral, Alara exclaimed. How did you find us? I followed the tracking device in your ship, Gordon replied. The same one Phillips was using. The difference is I came alone. He straightened, wincing slightly. The Confederation Council is in chaos. Half the members are calling for your destruction, while others are demanding answers about human extinction that have been hidden for centuries. Patricia studied the Meridian Admiral. Why are you helping us? Your people were part of the coalition that tried to wipe us out. Because my grandfather kept a journal, Gordon answered. He was one of the dissenters who opposed the genocide. He believed the galaxy needed humanity's unique perspective. I grew up reading his words, and when I found evidence of survivors 50 years ago, I began searching. John looked at Gordon with new respect. You've known about us for 50 years? I found traces, whispers, Gordon explained. But never a living human until now. The coalition species buried the truth so deep that most people alive today have no idea what really happened. A young human scientist approached with a data tablet. Director Harris, we've established contact with Sanctuaries 2 and 5. They confirm successful preservation. Thousands more humans are alive. Patricia's face showed relief and determination. Now we need to address the Confederation directly. No more hiding. No more lies. Over the next few hours, more humans were awakened. The Stellar Horizons crew worked alongside them, helping with the revival process. Linda found herself revising her suspicions as she witnessed the humans' organization and peaceful intentions. In the command center, Patricia, John, Ilara, and Admiral Gordon prepared a transmission to be broadcast to every Confederation world. Behind them stood representatives from each major human ethnic group, a living testimony to humanity's diversity. People of the Galactic Confederation, Patricia began as the cameras activated. My name is Director Patricia Harris of Earth Alliance. For 5 centuries you have been told that humans are extinct. That is a lie. We are very much alive. The broadcast continued, presenting evidence of the deliberate genocide attempt, including records preserved in the Sanctuary's databases and testimony from Admiral Gordon. We do not return seeking vengeance, Patricia declared. We return offering partnership. The same creativity and adaptability that once made us feared can now help break the technological stagnation affecting all our civilizations. As the message went out across the galaxy, the Sanctuary's sensors detected more ships entering the system. But these were different. Vessels from species who had joined the Confederation long after humanity's supposed extinction. coming not to attack but to witness. In the days that followed, the political landscape of the galaxy shifted dramatically. The 6 coalition species faced demands for accountability from their own people, many of whom had never known the truth. Several younger member species openly declared support for humanity's reintegration into galactic society. 1 month later, a new Confederation Council convened in orbit around Sanctuary 7. The Draconian representatives, led by an elderly statesman, formally acknowledged their ancestors' crime against humanity and offered reparations. John Miller stood in the observation lounge of the new station, watching ships from across the galaxy arrive for the historic gathering. Beside him stood Alara, who had become humanity's strongest non-human advocate. "What happens now?" she asked, watching the diverse fleet of vessels. John smiled, looking not at the ships, but at the groups of humans and aliens on the station, already engaged in animated exchanges of ideas. "Now we do what humans have always done best," he said. "We adapt, we innovate, we move forward." In the council chamber, Patricia Harris signed the new treaty recognizing humanity's rightful place in the galaxy. The last humans were no longer hiding. The truth was finally free, and with it a new era of cooperation had begun. The supposed extinction of humanity had never been true. And now, the future would be written together.